We'll call to order the Douglasville City Council legislative work session for tonight, which is November the 3rd. We will have our invocation. Let me see. I apologize, I got the wrong thing up. There we go. Oh, you're going to do the invocation? Yes, ma'am. Our invocation will be done by Ms. Emily Hardaway, our Community Outreach Coordinator for the City of Douglasville. And then our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem. Please stand for the invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Merciful Lord, thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to gather together this evening. As we enter into a time of Thanksgiving, I ask that we be reminded of all the things you've blessed us with that we have to be thankful for. Please be with our elected officials this evening as they make decisions, and please give them wisdom to lead us well. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. Ms. Hardaway, we appreciate the invocation, and we're excited about the holidays coming. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's regular, the legislative city council meeting. This is a city council meeting where agenda items will be taken up this evening for discussion only, and official action will be taken next. Gives me a chance to say that. I know. Legislative work session, and the agenda items will be handled next Monday, and that's when we'll vote on those items. You just heard my phone ring, so I would ask you to please silence your cell phones or your electronic devices so they will not be disruptive during the meeting, and we appreciate that. And I apologize, I'm running on two wheels from another meeting, and so that's why I'm discombobulated, just a little tiny bit. But I'd like to welcome you. My name's Rochelle Robinson. I'm mayor of the City of Douglasville. I'll just go over a few protocol issues, and then we'll jump right into the meeting. I ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept any personal attacks on any group or any individuals. We ask that you would present all of your information to the chair. We will handle the agenda items based on the committee chairperson and their committee. Only one person speaking at a time, please. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience when you're at the podium. I'll remind you, we're only required to accept public comments on zoning matters. Again, if you have a cell phone or electronic device, please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting. And now the agenda items will be handled in the following manner. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, then that person or persons representing that agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. We'll possibly ask questions, myself and council members, just to clarify so that we'll have more understanding and be able to vote on Monday. After that, committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum time of 20 minutes for those in favor of the item and 20 minutes for those in opposition. Each person has 5 minutes to speak. Prior to approaching the podium, we ask that you would please fill out a form. There are some forms outside. You should put your name and address on that form and hand the form to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right, and she will allow you to come. We just need that information for the record. And if you please state your name and address for the record. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We're just really here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions on next Monday. If you have any printed material, please hand that to Ms. Acker. She will make copies and disseminate those copies to the council members. And those are just a few of the protocol that we had to go through. And now we will move on. And those are the announcements. We do have a presentation, and it is a presentation to Mr. John Stone of the Douglas County Retired Educators Association, declaring that Sunday, November the 6th, is the 2022 Retired Educators Day in the City of Douglasville. And let me see, do I have it, Ms. Acker? Let me see the one for Miss Linda. Ta-da! Okay, I'll read this, and then Mr. Stone, if you'll come forward with your beautiful wife and any others that you may have, you can start making your way. Declaring November 6th, proclamation, November 6, 2022, as Retired Educators Day. Whereas the Georgia Retired Educators Association was founded in 1958 to unite retired educators in Georgia for fellowship support and educational community service, and to improve the benefits for all retired educators through cooperation with local, state, and national organizations. And whereas there are more than 123,000 retired educators in Georgia alone, 29,000 of whom are members of the Georgia Retired Educators Association. And whereas the retired educators of Georgia donate thousands of hours of volunteer service and make invaluable contributions to the welfare of the Douglasville community. Whereas it is important and appropriate that a day be designated for citizens to express their appreciation for the contributions made and continue to make for the Douglasville community. Now therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville and the Douglasville City Council, do hereby proclaim November 6, 2022 as Retired Educators Day, and further extend appreciation to all retired educators in the City of Douglasville for their impact on our citizens, so proclaimed this third day of November 2022. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. You have anything to say, Mr. Stone?
Just wish to express our thanks to you, Your Honor, the Mayor, and the
Yes,
Council for making this presentation to the Douglas County Retired Educators Association. And just for everybody's information, next year, the Douglas County Retired Educators Association unit in Douglas County will be celebrating its 50th year of service to the community. And in the county at present time, there's about 1,750-something retired educators reside in the county or have connections with the county. And if you look at the overall experience, the average retired educator served approximately 31 years. Wow. And if you multiply 31 times 1,000, 700 and something, you'll see how many years these people put in.
Yes, sir.
It's great. It's great to serve. It was great to be in the community and be a part of the school system and be a part of the education. But it's also great to be retired.
I know that's right. Well, you aren't really retired. I always see you doing Kiwanis and all kinds of other things.
Oh, yeah, we stay busy.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Stone, you want to say anything, or you have guests you want to?
Elaine,
We're good.
Lynn, Brian, you want to say anything?
I just want to thank you. This is an honor for us to come up and for you to recognize us.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
I just wanted to point out, too, just 50 years coming up for our own little unit here. It's
Yes,
so
ma'am.
exciting for all of us. But thank you all so much.
Let's have your name,
I retired with
please.
33 years
You did? Now, what's your name and which school did you retire from?
from Chapel Hill High School, Lithia Springs High School before that.
Okay.
So,
And your name for us?
Lynn Brown, I'm sorry.
That's
Lynn
okay.
Brown.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we have some educators. My mother was an educator, so I understand. And she would send flashcards to my kids, you never retire. And so we have educators on the city council and retired educator, Coach Watts.
You have one.
And
You
so
got
would
one
you have
sitting
anything
right
to
over
say?
there.
You're gonna point him out? You want to say anything, Coach? How many years and where you retired
37.
from?
So it was great time, but as
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Stone said, there's nothing like retirement.
Well, you
Every
weren't
day-
really
every
retired.
day's
You
a
were the city
Saturday.
council. Another educator, Dr. Burdanley? You want to say anything? You're not retired, but you're still
I am not retired, but I am counting down. So congratulations. I've known Mr. Stone for so long and Mrs. Stone, and I am just delighted. This is awesome what you do. And you said there are how many retired educators?
1,000?
How many in the county?
1,700
That
right
live
here.
in the county, about
Wow.
1,700.
Wow.
So aren't you interested in coming back? No. Congratulations. Thank you
goodness.
for what you do.
Yes, so any other council members want to say anything before we come around? I know your wife is getting ready to retire,
She
Mayor Pro
is-
Tem, from higher education.
And my wife is retiring after 25 5 years of teaching at University of West Georgia, so she's quite excited.
Mhm.
But she's not retiring entirely because she's going into a whole new line of work, so she's going to be opening up a restaurant, so that's
Oh, wow.
little different tack, but yeah, she's excited and is honored to have had that opportunity. She's kind of winding down for the last couple of classes this semester now, so
Oh, wow, no, it's bittersweet, but she'll
Yeah.
always be a wolf at heart, huh?
I guess so,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We'll come around and present, and Coach Watts, I'll ask that you would come in the middle as well and hold the proclamation, because you're a retired educator. Let's have a photo, please.
All right. 1, 2, 3. And then they asked if I could take a picture with their. So. Let's see if I can. All right. We're going to allow them to fellowship there. They paid their dues. Thank you so much. Good to see you all. So now we'll move on. We've had our announcements and the presentation. And we'll go to the next committee, which is item number 5. If you have a paper paper agenda from outside, or you can follow the agenda on the board above us. So 5 is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. Finance Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Tonight, we have a couple of items to amend our 2021 and 22 and 2022-23 fiscal year budgets. Ms. Callan is going to handle those for us. It's really good news.
Oh, good.
So I will read item A, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2021-2022 general fund budget. Ms. Callan?
Yes, sir. Karen Callan, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. This budget is for June 30, 2022. We get our invoices in, all our invoices in finally, probably around August, September-ish, so that's why we're doing our budget amendment now. We're also finishing up our audit and getting ready to present to our, getting our financial statements completed and ready to present to you all in the month of January. But to clean up our budget for our financial report, these are the budget amendment items. Some of the larger items are increasing our TABT tax, which is the title ad valorem tax, by $209,000. Local option sales and use, $977,000. Probation, $132,000, and building permits, $147,000. So with all the increases in revenues and adjustments to expenses, we are going to add about $1.88 million to the fund balance line. And then another item to point out is we do have a $50,000 budget adjustment to the Development Authority. But yes, it is good news. We did have another year of increase to our fund balance. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Ms. Callan. Just a note, that adds up to almost $1.5 million in additional revenues. I was amazed to see that our hotel motel tax, local option sales tax, increased almost $1 million by itself. And it appears people have been buying automobiles in our city to have a $209,000 increase in TAVT tax. Comments, questions? Good news there.
It's
Anyone?
exciting.
Then let's move on then to item B, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2022-2023 general fund budget.
Yes, sir. This is the first quarter budget amendment for the current fiscal year. And the significant items are increasing our property tax revenue line by $2 million, and that is due to the growth in the digest. Also, the fact that we kept our millage rate the same and didn't roll back. Those funds, 1.8 will be distributed into a contingency line. Then we'll have $53,000 added to a line item to increase for the fire alarm system at the police department. We will have some holiday lights at the PD building. Fiscal year, we'll have election expenses for the SPLOST vote that is included in this budget amendment for $10,000. And then we have hired a consultant to do an evaluation for fire services for $39,000. So that $2 million in additional property taxes will be distributed that way. So that's the first group of budget amendments. The other, we have a $275,000 that we received for the West Pine sewer sewer easement, and that $275,000 will be used to clean up once they do their construction. There's a few other line items. We are adding a recreation program coordinator to Hunter Park operations, but we're using the money that's left over remaining from the parts maintenance full-time, so that washes out. And then the final line at the bottom of the page is we're carrying over $1.5 million in prior year encumbrances that we rolled forward. They are appropriated in fiscal year 22, but have not been completed, so we're rolling that forward to fiscal year 23. The last page details that $1.5 million, and the majority of that are the office building and tower site purchase for $700,000 and $300,000.
And I understand that was completed yesterday. Is that correct, Ms. Jackson?
That's correct.
Yes. So pages 4, 5, and 6, you all have itemized information about those encumbrances from previous fiscal year that we had to roll over, and there's a description there of each of those items. Questions, comments? Good news, Ms. Callan. Okay, seeing none, I would ask then if there's no objection that we place those two items on the consent agenda for Monday. Thank you, Ms. Callan.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under finance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our Finance Director, Ms. Callan. We appreciate always getting good news. So we'll move on to item number 7, Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under Housing and Community Affairs. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. I have one item, and I'm going to start out with item A. It's adopt the ordinance to amend section 2-50A and 2-50D of the Code Ordinance of the City of Douglasville to increase the per diem rate for meals expense for elected officials, to add a provision for travel expense to cover state of Georgia and Douglas County agency meetings and conference for elected officials, and to repeal conflicting ordinances. And Ms. Chelsea.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. My apologies,
Davis.
Councilman Davis. Thank you, Councilman Davis. As you said, this is an ordinance to update mileage and meal expense reimbursement, specifically for it to reflect the federal government GSA rates. So it'll be to increase the per diem rate for meal expenses for elected officials, as well as to add a provision for travel expenses to cover the state of Georgia agency meetings, as well as Douglas County agency meetings as well for elected officials.
Okay, thank you. Mayor and Council.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding when we just discussed this before, that rate that depends on the General Services Administration per diem rate could conceivably go up or down, just depending on
The state.
economy and things like that. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, Councilman Watts, that
Yes.
is correct.
Okay. I
Like
just
a little
refreshing my
housekeeping.
memory. Thank you.
And it's been well advertised, and I'll just bring us up. Any other council members? If not, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda for Monday.
I see some, everyone's okay with the consent agenda? Okay, yes, sir.
Okay? That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Councilman Davis and Assistant City Manager, Ms. Jackson. We'll move on then to Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have two items tonight. Item A is to adopt a resolution providing for one-time special holiday season payments to the City of Douglasville employees, and I believe Ms. Jackson is going to handle this.
Thank you, Councilman Watts. Just a couple of highlights from the ordinance that is attached to the agenda. So staff is proposing an increase in the one-time special holiday season payments to the City of Douglasville employees. Over the last few years, the city has gradually increased these payments. In 2008, for example, the full-time employees received $125, and last year the amount was $300 for full-time employees. And then also each employee did receive a gift card. As seen in the resolution, staff is proposing that for fiscal year 23, the incentives are as follows: $1,000 for full-time employees employed at least 6 months, $500 for part-time employees employed at least 6 months, and then $250 for full-time and part-time employees that have been employed less than 6 months. And everyone will receive a $50 gift card regardless of the service or the hours worked this year. Funds for the increased incentives are budgeted through the fiscal year 23 budget, along with, we currently have 44 vacancies, so of course the funds from those vacancies will cover that as well. The estimated total cost will be about $244,000. Just another highlight on the major changes, just changing that employee incentive from $300 to $1,000, and the program has always been structured to reflect the budget availability as well. Staff did research a few cities, so I'll list a few cities that have these holiday incentives as well. Carrollton, Georgia, their full-time employees receive $1,000. You have Riverdale, Georgia, their full-time employees receive $5,000, and their part-time receives $2,500. Fairburn, Georgia receives $600 for full-time employees, and College Park, Georgia receives $1,500 for full-time and $750 for part-time employees. And I can entertain any questions you all may have.
Any questions, comments from council? Mr.
No.
Davis? No?
No, I just thank Chelsea for digging deep.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else? And just clarification, this will one-time will be a separate check, or is it included in their payroll check?
I'll have Ms. Karen Callan come down to discuss whether it be a separate check or it'll be included.
And if it's separate, I guess taxes and things like that are taken out, or how does that work?
Yes, federal and state taxes will be taken out. We will gross the check up for FICA and Medicare, and we do a direct deposit.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Anybody else? All right, I'd like to place this on consent agenda if it'd be all right with council. All right, thank
Yep.
you. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign an application for the Georgia Municipal Association Safety and Liability Management Grant, and Dr. Westfield will handle this.
Dr. Brian Westfield, HR Manager, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Madam Mayor, council members, it's that time again for the safety grant. I'm here to present information for the 2022 Safety and Liability Management Grant. Similar to previous years, this grant works to provide financial incentives to assist organizations in improving safety and liability risk controls. This grant pays up to $20,000, $10,000 eligible for workers' compensation, and the other $10,000 for risk and liability. So far this year, the city of Douglasville has submitted grants, a grant amount in total $45,000, so we far exceeded the threshold. So I'm prepared to answer any questions anyone might have about the safety grant this year.
Dr. Westfield, this is a renewal of is this a renewal of the same grant that we had this last year also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, okay.
Yes, sir.
I thought
Same
so.
criteria.
Yes, sir. Anybody have any questions or comments? Dr.
Coach, I did have one for Dr. Westfield. Just curious how we would go about deciding what items, what input do you have, or who gives input as to what items we would need to include in that grant?
Yes, sir, great question. So they actually provide a list of items that are acceptable and what's not acceptable. So what we do is we send a pre-application, if you will, that has our list of items, and they will say yes to this and no to this. Some items are clearly explained on the list, other things are not really defined, so it's kind of the gray area. So they'll come back and let us know what's accepted and what's not accepted.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, did you?
You're reading my mind.
Yes,
Coach.
I saw you reaching for the mic. Yes, sir.
No, I was just going to say thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Westfield. Councilman Adams kind of spurred a question for me as well. So on page 6 through 9, they do list, do you have certain points where they give you like the items that they have that are eligible for us to receive the resources? So do you get like the bleaching gloves or the seat cushions or air filters, plastic hats? Are there points, or they just add up how many things we check to say that we have?
It's actually a spreadsheet that has the number of items we purchase in a monetary amount.
Okay.
So there's no limit, whether it's 1 pair of boots or 70 pair of boots.
I
or
see.
90 ballistic helmets.
Yeah, for the
for
police
PD.
department. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's a lot of stuff on here. Hope we can check off a lot of these things on the list. All right,
Yes,
thank you
ma'am.
so much, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions or comments from council? If it'd be all right, I'd like to place this also on the consent agenda.
Yes, you could, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Westfield. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under personnel and organization.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and Dr. Westfield. We appreciate your input. We'll move on then to item number 10, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
As usual, we have several items
I
tonight
know,
under planning
I
and
know.
development, so we'll jump right in.
Mhm.
Item A, consider a request for a development plan approval for the Riverside West Spec 4 development for 55.37 acres, North River Road, in land lots 165, 173, 174, 997, and 998, District 1 and 18, Sections 2 and 5, parcel ID 017-301-50012, plans dated May 31st, 2022. Application by Rooker Riverside LLC. Mr. Thompson?
Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. All right, good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening,
All right,
Mr. Thompson.
The applicant, Rooker Riverside LLC, is seeking the development of a non-residential project per the City of Douglasville, UDO, Section 10.07, for a property located at North River Road that connects to Riverside Parkway and land lots 165, 173, 174, 997, and 998, District 1 and 18, Section 2 and 5, and parcel number 0173-015-0012. The proposal currently depicts a warehouse of permissible use in the light industrial zoning district. There is one building totaling 422,500 square feet on 55.337 acres of the overall site area. The site plan indicates 443 proposed parking spaces for the development. The building elevation plan shows that the facade materials consist primarily of tipped-up concrete, glass storefronts, and metal canopies over the entries. If you could, please find attached the application, site plan, and building elevations. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and recommends approval of the requested development plan. And we do have Mr. Cardoza here to answer any questions you all may have.
Okay, thank you. First of all, does the mayor or any of the council have any questions for Mr. Thompson concerning this application for development plan? Okay. Mr. Cardoza, did you want to make any sort of presentation or have any information you'd like to share as a part of this? Just give us your name and address for the record. We all know you, but still we need to do that for our viewing audience.
Sure. Brian Cardoza, representing Rooker Riverside LLC, 445 Bishop Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. The only thing I'll add is that I've been here previously with similar items on the agenda, so our building will look just like the one that you've looked at and approved in the past.
I did have a question. I understand, or looking at the site plan, there seems to be, I don't know if that is a stream on the, looks like the east side of the building. Is that a creek?
Yes, sir. If you're looking at the plan, it's on the left.
Yeah, okay.
And that creek we are avoiding that. We will not disturb it. We have an Army Corps permit that covers a bigger portion of our park. This was not part of that application, so we will follow the proper guidelines to.
No variance as to being too near the creek or requesting to be near the creek? That's not a part of the development plan, or any variance had been given, correct?
No, we did not request any in our plan submittal to the city.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Questions, comments? Mr. Thompson has shared with us the elevations and the materials, the facades and so forth, all being within our UDO requirements. Is that correct, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir, that's
stated? Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, then we will take this up on Monday for a vote. Thank you. We'll move on to item B. I would assume that Mr. Cardoza just keep a seat close to the front there. It looks like he's busy today. Consider a request for development plan approval for the Riverside West Spec 5 development on 45.967 acres, North River Road, land lot 173 and 174, District 1, Section 5. Parcel ID is 017301-50014. Plans dated February 10th, 2021. Application by Rooker Riverside LLC. Mr. Marcus Thompson, once again.
So the proposal currently depicts a warehouse of permissible use in the light industrial zoning district. There is one building totaling 255,000 square feet on 45.967 acres of the overall site area. The site plan indicates 100 designated parking spaces and an area west of the building proposed for additional parking. The building elevation plan shows that the facade materials will consist primarily of tipped-up concrete, glass storefronts, and metal canopies over the entries. Please find attached the application, site plan, and building elevation. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and recommends approval with the following conditions. Prior to the land disturbance permit submission, the applicant must provide a minimum of 255 parking spaces for the development or an alternative parking plan to accommodate the parking requirement. I just want to confirm, I have spoke with Mr. Cardoza. He will be providing an alternative parking plan.
Would this be a part of the grading permit or land disturbance permit at that time it would be required?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions, comments? Council, Madam Mayor? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Estes.
I just want to confirm with Mr. Cardoza that is correct, that you're going to provide an alternative parking plan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Others? Yes, Coach Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess as I'm looking at the property with the two buildings, the two different things on our agenda tonight, does each warehouse have to have its own drainage pond, or are the two that I see on the site plan enough for that property? I'm not sure how that works.
So, yeah, each site will have its own detention.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's all.
Others? Thank you, Mr. Cardoza. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. If, once again, you've already mentioned that the information that's provided would be within the scope of the UDO as far as materials, and
That's correct.
This would be the final two buildings, I believe, in this industrial park, correct? Okay. This one, it looks as though is taking advantage of the extension of the right-of-way on the street there that we talked about with the extended cul-de-sac here a couple of months ago. Am I right, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
That is
That's correct.
for the last building. Okay. All right. If there's no question or comment, then we'll take this up on Monday. Thank you all. We'll move on to item C, consider a request for development plan approval for the Homewood Suites development for 1.98 acres on Bob Arnold Boulevard in land lots 615, 616, and 678, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 06781820011. Plans dated September 22nd, 2022. Application by H Hotels LLC. Mr. Thompson?
Proposal before you depicts a hotel and allowable use in the GC General Commercial District. The hotel is a 4-story building with 91 hotel rooms. There are a total of 91 parking stalls. The development will have 2 access points in the entrance/exit on both Preston Boulevard and Bob Arnold Boulevard. The exterior elevation plan indicates brick, stone, and glass as the primary materials, cement base, artificial wood siding as the secondary materials, in addition to metal as the accent materials. Please find and attach the application, site plan, and exterior elevations. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and recommends approval with the following conditions. Provide a minimum turning radius of 32 feet throughout the driveway to allow easy access for a fire apparatus or a turning analysis highlighting the fire apparatus travel path prior to the issuance of the land disturbance permit. Set the parking lot west of the site back 15 feet from the side yard property line before submitting drawings for the land disturbance permit. Reconfigure the parking lot northwest and west of the site to mitigate the encroachment into the 10-foot landscape strip before submitting drawings for the land disturbance permit. Also, extend the sidewalk along Bob Arnold Boulevard. And then, last but not least, obtain a pool operating permit from the Douglas County Department of Public Health.
Okay.
And we do have the applicants here to address any questions you guys may have.
All righty, thank you. Questions, comments, Madam Mayor, Council? If the applicant's representative would like to come forward and make any comment, just give us your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Good evening, Matthew Zieg with CSC Design, 135 Rickman Drive, Canton, Georgia. I'm here as the engineer and architect for Mr. Bipin Hara. He's the developer of this project. He has developed the adjacent Hampton Inn, so this is an extension of his product. Like what was described, we are using a shared entrance with the Hampton off of Bob Arnold, and really, I mean, that's about it. If you have any questions, I can answer it.
Do you see any problems with the development plan in the conditions that Mr. Thompson has mentioned? Will that be an issue when you come back for a grading permit if we approve this? Are there any problems with those conditions being included from your standpoint as the architect, engineer?
I guess on the west edge, on the 15-foot building setback, we'll have to reconfigure the parking stalls. That'll be a little bit of a, we'll have to reconfigure something, but the landscape strip is fine. The building setback, getting the parking out of the building setback, I'd like to get some relief from that one, but other than that, I don't see any issues with the comments as presented.
What about the sidewalk that would connect Bob Arnold to Preston Boulevard? I see that there's an existing sidewalk that runs along Preston Boulevard and then turns onto Bob Arnold, but it then stops. Is there a plan for that sidewalk to continue?
We will continue that across Bob Arnold.
You would?
That's not a problem, no.
Okay.
And we're going to have we're going to have sidewalk connection between the two hotels as well, so that they can utilize each other's amenities.
Okay. Madam Mayor, questions, comments? Okay. If there are none, then we will take this up on Monday, realizing, of course, now that with these conditions that our staff is placing on the application, then this application would be voted upon based upon those conditions being able to be met.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. No question, comment? We'll take that up on Monday. Thank you so much. We will then move on to item D, consider a request for development plan approval for the Astoria at Crystal Lake Senior Living Development for 9.77 acres. on Chicago Avenue, land lots 193 and 224, District 2, Section 5, parcel IDs 0224, 025, 0034, and 0224, 025, 0028. Plans are dated September 7th, 2022. Application is the Benoit Group LLC. Mr. Thompson.
The project involves the construction of a 3-story apartment complex with a total of 165 units, 119 one-bedrooms, and 46 two-bedrooms. The site plan indicates one access to the development from Chicago Avenue. The applicant proposes a total of 165 off-street parking spaces. Common area amenities include a community room, fitness center, community garden, elevators, closed circuit cameras, and also secured building entrances. The unit amenities include kitchens equipped with a refrigerator, oven/stoves, dishwasher, microwave, and garbage disposals. In addition to ceiling fans, central heating, air conditioning, grab bars, emergency call systems, and washer and dryer units. The proposed materials are brick, fiber cement, siding, aluminum, and metal. Please find attached the application, site plan, building elevations with the material percentages shown. City staff has reviewed the application and attachments and recommends approval with the following conditions. First, camera system installation at all development entrances per City of Douglasville Ordinance 2022-24 rezoning condition. In addition to providing a minimal turning radius of 32 feet throughout the driveway to allow easy access for a fire apparatus, or a turning analysis highlighting the fire apparatus travel path prior to the issuance of the land disturbance permit. Provide a signed and dated site distance certification statement, and last but not least, the installation of a sidewalk east of Chicago Avenue along the proposed right turning lane. We do have the Benoit Group here to answer any questions
Okay.
that you guys want.
Mr. Thompson, I've heard in a couple of these applications you are making a recommendation or a requirement as to a turning radius that's different than what we see in the plans. Is that a new requirement? Is that something the city is just trying to go to because of fire apparatus, emergency vehicles that maybe the developers in and around the area are not accustomed to? Just curious.
Yeah, so it's just something we're trying to basically enforce to help the fire department out with our reviews. It's basically just something we're trying to enforce through the development plan phase.
Okay, I just see several radiuses that are like 30 feet, 26 feet, 25 feet, and you want them to go to 32 feet,
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct, and it's not all the radius, just where, the
Main entrances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it'd be pretty much a tight space for any
Sure.
EMS vehicle to maneuver.
Questions, comments? Madam Mayor, City Council, anyone?
That's observant, Mr. Chairman, that's good.
Yes. Yes.
I have a question.
Mr.
Thank
Danley?
you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor,
I'm
you got a
fine.
question? Thank you, Aaron. Just a question in regards to how far is the distance with, to Chicago Park? I just want to make sure, like the barrier, there's a retention pond, like right off of Chicago Park, that it's like an eyesore actually, but how far? Is there a buffer there? I'm glad this project is moving forward. I see you shaking your head. 75 feet? I'm sorry. Do you mind coming up and giving your name and thank you so much.
I believe, Ms. Danley, you'll see on the location map, it appears that this site is on the backside of the Chicago Park development, and I believe the lake that you're speaking of is on the front side of it. So there is quite a distance between the lake and the property, but we do want to hear from the applicant. Name and address for the record, please.
Raven Thompson, representing the Benoit Group, address 6780 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30328. I have brought my development team with me. I have our principal architects from Niles Bolton, Mr. Jeffrey Smith and David Shue, and I also have our civil engineer, Mr. Josh Carnes with Eberly and Associates. And to address Councilwoman Burr question, we did do our due diligence to comply with the buffers, and we did meet the county, city, and state buffers, which equated to about 75 feet, so we did adjust our building footprint for that.
Okay, great. So I was speaking more of the residents that live in Chicago Park. They're not going to be affected by this. I just wanted to make sure. I pretty much communicate with them often, quarterly, so they do know of the project, and I know this is a long time coming, and our things been going pretty on target with you. I can see you're smiling. Okay, so I don't have any other questions. Thank you for answering that too as well, Councilman Adams. Thank you so much. No other questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So am I to understand that the siting of the building, it's sort of interesting the way you've got it shoehorned in there. Is that really related because of the setbacks from the water course?
Could you repeat that?
The way you have the building sited, or the buildings sited on the site, the way they're positioned, is that due to the setbacks and the water courses?
Yes, sir. It's actually due to the topography of the land and the way that the riverbed from the initial site that we were using that ran further from the north down to the south. So we had to shift the building over, and we initially had it designed to be kind of like a baseball field shape, but then we had to kind of redesign it and separate it into two buildings.
It looks like a kind of a tough site to work with, I guess. It looks a little bit of like a challenging site to work with, I suspect.
We had to get very creative.
Good, John. I will say the elevations are surprisingly competent looking. That's not when you zoom in, really, they're really tiny, but when you zoom in them, they actually look pretty nice. Compliment you for giving a nice sort of beltline effect to it, even though you don't have the beltline anywhere near. I know you guys at Niles Bolton are pretty sharp over there, so that's all I have now.
Thank you. Others? Anyone? All righty. Then we will take this up for a vote on Monday. We appreciate you all coming in, bringing your team with you, and
Thank you.
wish you the best. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything else you needed to add on this before we go to the next item?
Yes, sir. So spoke with legal. So this development is actually in the process of combining their lots, and it was stated that due to the circumstance that involves them combining the lots, that we would like to table this item until the 17th of November. That's when their plat is presented before you guys.
Okay, so we would need to see the plat combination be approved before we approve this item, or before we vote on this item.
Correct.
Okay. We need to take that under consideration then for Monday.
Okay.
All right?
I have a
Thank you.
question. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
So with it being tabled, is that delaying the process anymore? I mean, I'm just.
If I may, good evening, Councilwoman. That would not delay the process because the plat approval was not scheduled to go before council until November 17th.
Anyway?
Correct.
You're aware of that? I'm sorry.
So
Go
if
ahead.
I may speak, I think so we submitted the final plat approval back in March. I think there was a technicality on the survey plat that required the mayor's signature line and date. And I guess in communication, but I was under the impression that the person, that it would be done on you all's end to put the mayor's signature and date, since it was the mayor, that was my understanding and interpretation. And then in further email correspondence with Ms. Tubbs, I realized that she was expecting for us to have our surveyor to add the mayor's signature on it. And thus, since that time, I think the guidelines have changed where we've had to update 3 signatures with the development director, city engineer, and city clerk. So we have submitted that. We submitted that on September 30th to get it back into you all as an update, and we were told that we would have to be on the November 17th schedule.
So with that being said, my question is that delaying? You're saying it's not delaying. I want to hear from you.
Well, at the time, it's been so much going on in between that, because we've had to, I guess, go through the process of getting, we had an issue with the Van Sant Mill Road. So we've had to go through the process of working with the County Board of Commissioners as well as the church to send a letter over about landlocking for the church's parcels and parcel 12, which we have, to my knowledge, resolved. Ms. Shayla Reed can speak more to that. But in that process, there was a halt on the LDP review that we submitted, as well as our building permits that we've submitted. So it has been a lot of delays from our standpoint on our schedule, because we were trying to meet our deadline to close at the end of November.
Ms. Reed? And I wasn't aware of all what you just mentioned. Thank you.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. Shayla Reed, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. This particular project came before you all earlier this year for a rezoning. When the plat was submitted, when the rezoning was first submitted, the conversation of that road came about with the Van Sant Mill Road. There is an adopted plat that identifies that road to be a proposed road within the plat. So in order to remove that road, which is what is intended by the developer, is to remove the road, we would have to bring that plat back before council. It's scheduled on the 17th. Legal has advised that it's best for us to wait on the development plan because it identifies where that plat with the right-of-way is being altered, but you have yet to approve the final plat. So what needs to happen is the final plat needs to be approved and adopted first, then the development plan, because this kind of shifts it a bit because they're making changes to a previously adopted plat.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that help you, Councilwoman Burden?
It's a mouthful.
It is, and I'm trying to figure out.
But it does make sense.
It makes
It does
sense.
make sense. We don't need to adopt a development plan with an incorrect plat
Sure, I
attached to it.
understand. It just sounds like it was a lot of things in between that wasn't communicated appropriately, and I was not aware. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, and I was going to say as well, so if we started in March, it just seems like there were some extenuating circumstances that were not caused by the developer to hold up their project.
So
I don't know what my signature, of course, I can't sign anything without the council approving it first and authorizing me to sign, so those checks and balances.
So if I can be honest on the record, there were no delays caused on the city side.
Okay.
There were some things, as you know, came before you in regards to signatures and plats being signed by staff versus council.
Okay.
That conversation came before council. Council decided that it should be in fact how the ordinance outlines. So therefore, staff has advised any applicant that did not have a review approved, we were advised to tell them to go back and have the signatures changed.
Okay.
That item was not scheduled to be on the agenda, so we didn't take it off the agenda. It didn't
just
cause any
wasn't
delays
on.
there. It was something as simple as removing a line for signatures and names to replace it with correct names. In regards to it being given in March, when we had the rezoning during that time, the conversation regarding the road and the abandonment or the removal of the right-of-way, that discussion came about then. So due diligence was given during that time by staff. So it has always been informed during that time in March that this was the process. So we were very clear, and it was on record during that rezoning meeting.
So it's a 2-week delay if we have to wait for the 17th and 21st. And if it's approved then, and the signatures are done, then you can meet your deadline by the end of the month, seemingly.
So they can't move forward without the final plat being signed until the 17th. So there's no technical delay because the development plan doesn't cause them to have a green light. The final plat technically does,
Right.
and that's scheduled for the 17th. We're asking to put that on the same agenda, just putting it further down on the agenda, so once the final plat is approved, we can move next to the next item, which will be this item. And that was advised by legal, giving us that direction.
But it still would be seemingly within the time frame of the end of the month.
Correct,
The
yes ma'am, it'll be
21st.
within November.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, did you have a,
Yeah, I don't want to get into a back and forth because we really are trying to be as cooperative with you all and Shayla and, trying to basically honor the request that she, when we met with her, that she told us that we needed to make happen before the development plan of the site got approved. But I do want to just, correct some of the things that she said in reference to the plat. The rezoning at the time when we came forth, before the mayor and the city council was approved with those conditions about the security cameras, et cetera. Nothing about Van Sant Mill Road at that particular time just reared its head until shortly in the process further down the road. And the plat, again, was submitted back in March. So the full plat combined was submitted. It was just a technicality of having the line signature with the date for the mayor to sign. And that was in way before the city council voted to have additional signatures added and the mayor's signatures removed. And we were hoping, if we could get that plat reviewed by, earlier than that, but it just didn't happen. So we're just trying to roll with, or go with the flow for the most part.
Well, I'm glad that things are moving on. This is not a place of debate. I understand what you're saying. So I'm glad things are moving forward. And from this point forward, this is in our ward, Councilman Davis and I, as the city, this is the city. We just want to make sure that this project and all projects, the communication is appropriate, and we just go from here. Okay, so I apologize if there was anything on our end, but we have an excellent, in my opinion, planning and development department. So as you have in the past, please make sure you communicate with our staff, and you're welcome to call me, Councilman Davis, if
Absolutely.
needed. Thank you.
Okay, any other question or comment? Therefore, since we do not have an approved final plat combined, removing the road right-of-way for Van Zant Mill, we will then we have been asked to table this until the second set of meetings within the month. And according to our legal staff, that's what we need to do. It's unfortunate that that road right-of-way was not mentioned or needed, or was not shown to be deleted at the initial meetings, and I believe that's what's caused the holdup. I don't quite understand yet what the mayor's signature has to do with it, because we're handling that, which would probably make it faster, I believe, because it would be more convenient at the time of the meeting. So I appreciate all the input, and I know that staff has had their hands full with this, and I know the developer has a very challenging site to work with, and we want to see it come to fruition. We just have to do it legally and properly, according to legal. Okay? So we'll take that up on Monday. We'll go to our last item for the evening, and that is consider a request for development plan approval for the Douglasville storage development for 4.704 acres, Georgia Highway 5 and Bright Star Connector, land lots 161, 162, District 2, Section 5, parcel IDs 016-202-50038 and 016-202-50030. Plans dated October 13, 2022. Application by White Oak Development Partners. Mr. Marcus Thompson.
Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. The proposal before you this evening depicts a self-storage facility and allowable use in the PUD plant unit development with a basis on general commercial zoning district. The total building area is 40,076 square feet with 430 units. There are a total of 18 proposed parking stalls. This development will have 2 access points, a right in, right out, and an regular entrance / exit on Georgia Highway 5. The exterior elevation plan indicates brick with white metal on top to mimic board and batten siding. Please find attached the application, site plan, and building elevation. Staff has reviewed the application and attachments and recommends approval with the following conditions. It's for the applicant to submit an exemption application to Douglasville Communities Development Department to combine parcels 016202500038 and 016202500030 prior to the issuance of the land disturbance permit.
Okay. Questions, comments? Mr. Thompson, I had to ask where the property is located. There's not really, to me, landmark that I can pick out to know where this is on Highway 5? Can you help us with that, please?
Yes, sir. So the property is located north of Highway 5, I'll say a quarter of a mile from the Georgia Farm Bureau, in between also the package store. I forget the name of the package store, I'm sorry, but
So if I'm going out Highway 5 toward Veterans Memorial, it'll be on the left between Farm Bureau and the package store?
that's correct.
Okay, all right. Anyone? Questions, comments? Madam Mayor?
Is there a storage unit, like, right near it, or?
No, in front, there's a auto shop.
Cars, okay.
The next one, I think, is down Highway 5 when you get to, right near, across from, category from Publix. I think that's the next one you get to on
So
Highway
there
5.
isn't one near, before
Oh, no,
you get
you're
on
right, you're
I-20?
right. It's right on the interstate, you're right.
Yes,
There's one
right across
there.
the street, right?
So there are two on there already.
Yeah, so, okay, of course, and this is not for just this applicant, but I know we have some other storage units that are proposed. So just for study purposes, after we discuss this, just, we try to have smart growth and things that fit into the community. If we can maybe have a study on how many storage units and all of that, so more of like a moratorium, but not today, just asking.
Okay.
So I'm putting that out there for storage
It
units.
is one of the more common building types that's going up right now, and just Americans have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
That's the bottom line, we have a lot of stuff. I will say that I give credit again, I think the architectural applications are improving. We're getting better design on these, and it's a storage facility, but it's not a bad-looking storage facility, so my compliments to the architects who submitted this, because it's definitely a step in the right direction, so.
Okay, other comments, questions? Any other comments, Mr. Thompson? The developer is here, if they'd like to say anything, we'd welcome them to come forward. If you'd like to come forward, give your name and address for the record with any comment concerning the application, we'd love to hear from you.
Sally Williams, 14600 Whirlwind Avenue, Jacksonville, Florida, 31522, or 32218, I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank you guys for hearing us out today on everything. Marcus has been a great help through this process. We've already actually gone through the alternative parking plan process as well, and had our discussions with GDOT on those entrances, so we're one step further on getting that all cleared up, as well as far as, getting everything planned out in the development. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to look it over today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Any questions or comments council or Madam Mayor may have of the applicant?
Did you really come all the way up from Florida just for this meeting?
We did, yes.
Thank you.
We are dedicated.
All righty, thank you very much. Madam Mayor, that's the last item. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay, that's the last item under our committee tonight, so we will take this up on Monday for a vote. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson and Chairman Adams, for those reports. We'll move on then to item 11, Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening for Public Improvement and Beautification.
Thank you. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
We have no business this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have one item, and I'm going to start with item A, considering amendment to section 26-323 and 26-517 of the City of Douglasville Code of Ordinance regarding the pawn shops and secondhand shops automatic reporting system fees, structure, and for other purposes. Captain Tubman, thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Mayor, for letting me be up here tonight. Tommy Dimon, Douglasville Police Department, 2083 Fairburn Road. What we're looking at is the ordinances reference the way the pawn shops and secondhand stores log their sellers and the merchandise that they bring in or that they want to pawn. For several years, we've used BWI. Originally, BWI charged by transaction, and they billed the store. And during that time, they moved, there were some complaints from the stores with BWI, and they moved to where they just charge a flat fee of $500. Earlier this year, a company called Leads Online bought BWI, which put us in a little bit of a predicament because they are the only platform now in the nation that monitors this information. It's pretty imperative that we keep this because this is the way we can find a lot of stolen stuff if they do try to take it into a secondhand store or a pawn shop. Because what they do is they enter the person's information and they enter the description of what the property was, any serial numbers, model numbers, anything like that. Leads charges based on the number of officers in the department of the area that they're serving. We have around 90 is where we're at right now. What they base the cost on, and the cost is going to be around $8,275. This may fluctuate yearly depending on if we get up to full complement, that they'll of course increase the cost. To help offset this, we wish to change the ordinance to read that the chief can recover all or a portion of the cost, if he wishes, of the service by adding a fee associated with the purchase of a business license for a pawn shop or a secondhand store. The business is required by ordinance to use the platform designated by the chief to log the sellers and the merchandise. That's already in there. We just want to change the wording of how the fees are collected, because now the ordinance reads that they have to pay the person that providing the service. Leads does not collect any money from the business. They collect money from the municipality or the police department that they're serving. The businesses are accustomed to paying a fee, which has been to BWI, and since Leads doesn't collect from the business, I've been in contact with Ms. Callan. She says they can help with that. They'll collect the fee in addition to the purchase of the business license. I'm anticipating this is going to be somewhere around $1,000. Right now, there's about 6 businesses in the city that this would apply to. I spoke with the chief several times about this. I think we need to keep it to where they pay a fee, but we as the police department also cover some of the cost in there, so we never charge more than what BWI has, that Leads has charged us. Most of these businesses were paying a much higher rate when BWI had the per transaction charge instead of the flat rate. And one of the biggest complaints that we had was from Cash America, because they were paying around $2,000, $2,200 until BWI went to that flat rate of $500. And that's pretty much the gist of what we've got. If y'all have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay. Madam Mayor, Council? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to follow you, Cap Dipper. I think I understand everything. You were just saying that because you're going to this system now with Leads, that it's going to be, they're charging per officer, so it may fluctuate based on how many officers you have. You have about 90, it's be $8,000. And it's $1,000 surcharge per these 6 secondhand or pawn shops. But they were accustomed to paying a fee with BWI that was, before it was per item, but now it went flat. And so is it going to affect those businesses is the bottom line?
Yes, it will be a cost increase to them.
It'll be a cost increase to them.
There's no way around that. If the chief decides to charge them to recoup some of that cost, that's coming to that $8,000. It's not $8,000 plus $1,000 per business. He's looking at recouping some of the cost since they are already accustomed to paying this to BWI and now Leads. That's basically a marketing strategy they use, is they don't charge the business, they charge the municipality or the police department.
So the companies are accustomed to paying something as a surcharge.
Yes, they're all accustomed to paying something. Yes.
And it'll just go up whatever they're paying?
Yes, absolutely.
Is it significant? What percentage? Is it 50% or?
It was probably going to be about 100% increase because they're paying $500 now and they'll be paying about $1,000.
I don't know if that's fair. I gotta think about that one. We can't take it out of drug funds or something?
I don't think they can use that for drug.
I'm just asking, I'm just asking. If it's stolen and, you're trying to recoup stolen materials or something.
That's why it's so imperative that we have this. There's, most all of your agencies use this. Sheriff's Office uses it, Cobb County uses it.
I understand, if they're the monopoly now, Leeds is a monopoly, and you have to go through them.
That's basically what they have.
I understand the resources, I'm just trying to figure out how to pay for it and not let it be such a burden on those businesses who they didn't have any control over things going up, and especially if it's 100%, 50%, 25%, but 100%.
We will initially have to budget for the money,
Yes,
because
sir.
we'll have to pay it on a year, as a yearly fee under a contract. And then the chief will decide, before, I think, was it end of this month, the business license go out? We'll have to decide by the end of November what he'll have to decide what he wants to ask for to have back. So, and what I plan to do is if y'all approve this, I'll draft a letter, and get the chief's signature on it, and I'll personally go to these shops and say, look, this is where we're at, this is what we got to do. And so they've got a face to, we're not just sending a letter out to them and saying, hey, we got to have more money. So they'll at least know, have somebody to explain to them what's going on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other councilman? Okay, if not, Madam Mayor, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda on Monday so we can get started with the process. Okay. Thank you all. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business item, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you, sir. Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. And we do have business under Transportation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we do have 3 items. And the first item is to authorize the mayor to sign the proposal for additional services, right-of-way, and utility cost estimates for PI 001-7811-SR92 and CS 532 Brown Street to McCarley Street. Change order number 1 with Croy Engineering LLC in the amount of $17,900 for the Dallas Highway Improvement Project. Mr. Thompson, sorry.
All right, Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. So the 2 proposals before you guys tonight is basically in efforts to support the Dallas Highway Improvements Project that was a part of the Livable Cities Initiative study that we previously conducted. So the first proposal is basically GDOT is requiring Croy Engineering to basically provide a cost estimate for the right-of-way and utility relocation that will be involved with this project overall. Initially, this service was projected to start within the Phase 2, the right-of-way acquisition phase. However, GDOT is requiring us to go ahead and start this during the preliminary engineering phase. Are there any additional questions or concerns that you guys have tonight?
Any questions or comments? All right. If it's okay with the mayor and council, I'd like to place this item on the consent agenda. All right, and the second item is to authorize the mayor to sign the proposal for additional services, Historic Resource Survey for PI 001-7811-SR92 and CS 532 Brown Street to McCarley Street, change order number 2 with Croy Engineering LLC with a proposed budget amount of $199,509 for the Dallas Highway Improvement Project. Mr. Thompson?
So initially, Croy did research, and their research indicated 5 resources / districts that were built 1976 or earlier. These different types of resources that they're doing this historic survey on includes schools, parks, cemeteries. So after more coordination with GDOT, it was just discovered that instead of 5, there are 69 resources that they'll have to conduct a survey So this change order reflects those those additional resources.
Wow, 69, that's a lot.
And this is along Strickland Street, from the Brown Street on up to McCarley, and also includes some of the parcels along Dallas Highway as well.
Do you have the timeline for this, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah. So initially, construction for the project was slated to start in 2025, but however, with us not getting our additional funding until 2022, that put us a year behind, and also with these additional change orders, that would also put us a year behind. So construction is slated to start 2027.
2027?
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, 2027.
Yeah, so we have our right-of-way acquisition phase starting in 2023, the utility relocation phase starting in 2025, and then, like I said, construction.
All right.
Start right after.
Are there any questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you're referring to the 64 additional
69.
resources, are you talking about background sources they have to go refer to? It's legwork, or are you talking about the actual additional structures or
Just additional structures.
that they've identified in the
Yeah,
corridor?
so initially, they thought as though the additional resources would be a part of an actual historic district. However, that's not the case, so you'll have to split those parcels up and do a separate survey on each.
What would have been, you say they thought it would have been a part of a historic district?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand that, because we have very clear
Historic
boundaries
district.
where our historic district is.
Right.
So either it's in the historic district or it's not in the historic
It's
district.
basically terminology basically saying that they thought they'll be able to group it into one, basically.
So they're trying to create a historic district out of it, is what you're saying?
No, sir, no, not at all.
I'm still not sure
It's
I'm getting
confusing.
it. Are you doing better than I am?
I am not. I am just
Just
still
trying to-
stuck like on 2027, but,
Refurbish old infrastructure.
Yes, they're basically trying to preserve historical properties that's been standing for 50 years, basically.
So you're saying there's 64
69.
properties and/or items or structures that they did not account for in the
Correct.
first?
That they thought
overview.
they would be able to group together in one district, but now they have to
That's a big
separate
oops.
each.
that is a big oops.
How did they do, well, I don't want to get into the weeds too far. I'm just curious to know how they did the survey initially and then did not catch that. You can't answer that, it's not your. Okay, that's all, Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'm not going to request that this be put on the consent agenda. I just want to do a little bit more research myself, but of course, it'll still come before a vote on Monday. All right, the last item, C, rescind the authorization of the mayor to sign Georgia Department of Transportation letter dated October 17th, 2022 regarding adoption of GDOT procurement policy for the procurement management and administration of engineering and design-related consulting services, and authorize the mayor to sign Georgia Department of Transportation letter dated November 7th, 2022 regarding adoption of GDOT procurement policy for the procurement management and administration of engineering and design-related consulting services, all for the purposes of adding staff to item 1 of the letter. Mr. Thompson.
All right, so this is basically a housekeeping item. We were here recently to present this letter to you guys. Basically, during that process, 2 staff members completed their GDOT procurement training, and so GDOT wants us to go back and add those 2 staff members to this letter to submit for our LAP recertification.
Wonderful. Glad to see that happen. Any questions or comments? If not, I would like to add this item to the consent agenda. And with that being said, Madam Mayor, there are no other items under transportation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Thank you, Madam Chair. We appreciate you and the transportation. And Mr. Thompson, you've had a lot of talking tonight, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight from council members? The only thing I would add is we do have our former Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Honorable Richard Siegel, in the audience to recognize him. He does a wonderful job on the Water and Sewer Authority as one of our representatives of the city. So we thank him for his participation. And if staff can, Miss Emily, if you can talk to us about Stranger Things. I've had some questions from some citizens. In fact, my little nephew said, "Are kids invited to Stranger Things?" I said, "Well, you have to ask your mom. It starts at a time where you're in the bed. I think it starts pretty late on Saturday. Well, not late, but like is it 6 o'clock? They want to have it kind of spooky because of Stranger Things. So could you give us an update, please?"
Emily Hardaway, Community Outreach Coordinator, 6695 Church Street. Actually, this year's event is going to be a little different than last year's in that this year it's going to take place during the day.
Okay,
The hours are 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. So all the festivities and everything will be open and we'll get started around noon. And it's going to be similar. There's going to be arcade games down at the arcade. There's also going to be a Dungeons and Dragons game set up. That's a huge part of the show, Dungeons and Dragons. So there's going to be an opportunity for people to play that game. There's going to be cutouts of all the characters at the arcade and around different spots, all downtown. There's going to be an opportunity for people to purchase some Stranger Things items and swags. There's going to be selfie spots, and at the old police precinct, there's actually going to be a skating rink, which is a part of the new season of Stranger Things. So people will get the opportunity to come skate, relive the 80s, skating. And then there's going to be karaoke out on O'Neill Plaza. So there's going to be lots of fun activities all downtown from 12 to 5. And there's also a bunch of restaurants downtown that are going to be selling specialty items. Gabe's, Kumba Coffee, Fabiano's, the Vine Cafe and Market, and Tito's Lounge. And Dreaming Sweets will be selling sweets at the skating rink.
Okay, well, that's exciting. So my nephew is his little boy, so I think they probably don't want to bring him. That's why they said it was at night. Or they're thinking, about I know he's only 7, my great nephew. So last year it was at night.
It was, yes.
So that's when he said, little kids can't come, it's at night, but anyone can come, it's from 12 to 5.
Yes, anybody is welcome.
Okay.
They wanted to switch it up this year just to see how the event ran and went when it was being held during the day. So
Can you repeat the date again?
It's Saturday.
Repeat
It's
the date.
Saturday.
This Saturday.
It's this Saturday, yes.
All right, Deani can come too.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other business from council? If not, then we'll move on to item number 18, updates from our city staff. Mr. Joel Dotson, our city attorney.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Our staff attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan. Thank you. Our police department, Captain Detmer. Thank you, sir. Our assistant city manager from the manager's office, Ms. Chelsea Jackson.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
For real? Okay. Staff reports. We do have a staff report. It's a discussion regarding a city initiated rezoning application for Durley Lane. I believe that's Ms. Calland and/or Ms. Shayla Reed, our planning and development director and our finance director.
So during a time when we were inspecting the Durley Lane location for businesses, we've identified that Durley Lane has a number of parcels or properties that do not have the correct zoning. They have a R2 zoning but would need either a commercial or industrial zoning based on the type of uses. I'm not sure what happened between now and sometime in the past, but I do know that it would be best if the city was to rezone those parcels. For the last couple of days, I've gone out to the sites and just kind of evaluate the type of uses. I've been in conversation with the finance director and her team regarding the business licenses. And in regard to that, we've identified 4 parcels that do not have the correct zoning. And so staff is recommending that we take it as a city-initiated rezoning to allow for the parcels to have the correct zoning reflected. Currently, right now, If the parcels do not have the correct zoning, they're being grandfathered and allowing for there to be an opportunity to allow for the businesses to continue. The challenge is when a new application come in and the use changes, or if the use is under 6 months and it's changing, the grandfathering is being lost. So to correct that, we're looking to have the zonings be correct and reflected so that we can have the correct zonings to move the businesses forward in the future.
Is your committee, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Madam
Okay.
Mayor.
Is it going to affect the business itself? Is it going to change their fees or dues or whatever for the city business licenses, all of that? Ms. Callen? Because then that would be unfair to the business.
Correct. No, ma'am. What we are proposing is that Monday night, we request you to approve a temporary business license for this one business that was denied due to improper zoning. And the temporary business license is for 90 days, and in the meantime, Shayla will be working on getting it rezoned. So we want to make sure that he doesn't suffer any for our errors in the past. So.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, others? Anyone? I will say that I'm familiar with the two locations that have been mentioned. In fact, I've been here a long time, and I've never known them to be anything but businesses, so I was extremely surprised when some of the constituents in the area contacted me about the problem. And in fact, I believe Ms. Reed will agree, the county zoning map shows the businesses commercial, but we show them as residential, and in my lifetime, they've never been anything but commercial. They're not houses that have been converted, personal residences. They're actually commercial buildings. And so I appreciate the city taking the initiative to help with this, and I want to make sure that those property owners are contacted and let them know what we're doing in order to accommodate their tenants. There are several tenant spaces in one of the buildings, and so this is not just for the one that has come forward to try to get a business license, but this is for those other potential tenants also. We want to make sure that we do not cause them any undue problem. Any other question, comment? Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you,
Great
sir.
job. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Ms. Reed and Ms. Callen. We appreciate that, taking the initiative to make things seamless. Now is the opportunity for citizens, if you sustain the meeting and you'd like to address us, please come to the podium. It's comments from citizens and delegates, and you have 5 minutes to address myself and council members about any concerns that are germane to the city of Douglasville. Thank you. When you come forward, please give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Dubois. Address is 3848 Landmark Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. It's my first time here. Council members, I just wanted to bring something to your attention. I'm not sure exactly what category this falls under. I am a combat Army veteran. I served in the U.S. Army for 24 years. I have never, in all my time, ever seen, in the area that I live, seen so many animals dead on the road. Unfortunately, I think it was Saturday, I actually witnessed someone, the animal was sitting in the road, he stopped and literally ran over the animal. The animal pieces splat all the way on the other side of the road. I don't know what laws the state of Georgia has in reference to the caring of wildlife, but this is the worst I have ever seen in all my years that I have traveled, not only throughout the United States, but abroad as well, even my time in Iraq. I don't know who or how this can be fixed, but people drive too fast, they go way above the speed limit, and there is no lingering respect for wildlife animals, the smallest to the largest. Someone hit a baby deer and just took the deer and put it on the side of the road. I actually, I cried my eyes out because they too, whether people realize it or not, animals share this planet with us. We're not here by ourselves. They share the planet with us. And it's up to us now to try to stop people from just killing senselessly. What's going to happen to wildlife? You know, I came from Minnesota. I've only been living here a year, but however, back in 2010, I was active duty at Fort McPherson, which we now know is closed down because they put the VA clinic there. I know every state has their different laws, but in the state of Minnesota, there is a law you cannot kill wildlife. There is a period of time where you have deer hunting, and after that period is done, you will be held liable for even getting caught destroying wildlife. And I know, again, every state has different laws, but I needed to bring this to your attention. Please, I don't know, again, what can be done, how it can be done, but please, these drivers, and I'm not saying everybody, because there are people who actually care about the laws in this state, and there are people who actually care about wildlife in this state, but then there are some who just downright do not care. I tell you, every single day since I am here, there is an animal dead on the road. Every day. Whether it's a possum, whether it's a squirrel, whether it's a deer, every single day. And we're talking about specifically Pope Road, we're talking about Slater Mills Road, and we're talking about Presley Mill Road. And I'm not even going outside, heading towards the airport, because you see it as well. But I know that I had to start somewhere. You know, I have to start somewhere. So I am pleading with you. Please let us work together to come up with something. Even if you have to put up a sign to say, slow down. You know, people will see signs that say children playing, and they still going 20 miles, 30 miles above the speed limit. I don't understand. I just don't understand why people do this. But I am asking you, you have the authority and you control, you have the power. Please let us make changes. Please, you know, our world is, as you guys can see every day, is getting worse, is in turmoil. And if we don't do something to protect the environment, to protect the planet, to protect wildlife, what's going to happen? Again, I'm going to stress this. They shared the earth with us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
And we'll look into, we do contract with the county for animal services, animal control services, and so we will look into those areas. Some of the streets that you were saying we share, I'm not certain if they're city or county, but we can certainly look at it. Thank you again for your service, and I served in the Army as well, so we appreciate that. Yes, ma'am, Fort Jackson. So thank you so much. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Thank you. We're not seeing anything. We don't have any other business to attend to this evening. This meeting is adjourned.